Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? So it's Monday, June 16, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. A right-wing nutcase shoots and kills a state lawmaker in Minnesota and her husband, shoots another state lawmaker and his wife 17 times, and the FBI says he visited the home of several others on the same night. We'll show you the FBI news conference. We'll talk to a state lawmaker in Minnesota about this devastating political assassination. The battle over immigration continues. Now Donald Trump wants to target blue cities, yet the places where you have the most undocumented workers are red states. Why is he not talking about them? It's a whole lot we're going to be unpacking today. Even that joke of a parade over the weekend where Trump was saying, oh, 250,000 people. Y'all, it wasn't that. It wasn't even close to that. And, of course, the No Kings protest took place all across the country. We'll show you what took place there as well. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the best, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, it was a shocking and devastating weekend in the state of Minnesota where two lawmakers were gunned down by a right-wing pro-life extremist. It absolutely shocked the nation when this news came down regarding this shooting. Now, one of the lawmakers, the former Speaker of the House, she and her husband were both murdered. They were both killed as a result of this shooting. Then, of course, you had another lawmaker and his wife. They were shot 17 times. And both of them, shockingly, were able to survive this shooting. It was an unbelievable attack that so many people, of course, have been talking about. Were just dumbfounded by this. It led to the largest manhunt in Minnesota state history. Of course, authorities, they captured Vance Luther Bolter, 57-year-old white man who was accused of gunning down State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband. He also shot State Senator John Hoffman and his wife. Now, Bolter made his first court appearance today to hear the charges against him. He's charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder. Investigators say he posed as a cop to ambush the lawmakers in the wee hours of the morning on Saturday. The Hortmans, again, did not survive. The Hoffmans are recovering after multiple surgeries.
Just as excited about
Minnesota's governor is calling it a political assassination. That's exactly what it is. The FBI held a news conference today where they shared details. And what we're also learning is that the shooter visited the homes early that night of other lawmakers. And in fact, one officer encountered him thinking he was a cop. Here's some of the FBI news conference.
Good morning. My name is Joe Thompson, and I'm the acting United States Attorney for the District of Minnesota. Late last night, the U.S. Attorney's Office filed a complaint bringing an array of federal charges against Vance Luther Bolter for his horrific attack on our state and our elected representatives. Political assassinations are rare. They strike at the very core of our democracy. But the details of Belter's crime are even worse. They are truly chilling. It is no exaggeration to say that his crimes are the stuff of nightmares. Belter stalked his victims like prey. He went to their homes, held them out as a police officer, and shot them in cold blood. Now, there's been a lot of information and misinformation out there about Belter's crimes. We have filed a detailed 20-page complaint and affidavit that sets forth what happened in this case. I'd like to share some of that information with you now. In the early morning hours of June 14th, Belter went to the homes of 4 Minnesota state politicians with the intent to kill them. Belter first traveled to the home of Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman in Champlin, Minnesota. Belter arrived at the senator's home disguised as a police officer. He arrived in a black SUV with emergency lights turned on and with a license plate that read police. Belter wore a black tactical vest and body armor. He carried a flashlight and a Beretta 9mm handgun. He also wore a hyper-realistic silicone mask. Senator Hoffman had a security camera. I've seen the footage from that camera, and it is chilling. Belter knocked on Senator Hoffman's front door and repeatedly shouted, "This is the police, open the door." Senator Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, came to the door. When they opened the door, Belter shined the flashlight in their faces and said there had been a shooting reported in the house. Belter asked if they had any weapons. When Belter lowered his flashlight, which he had shined in their face, they realized that he was not a police officer. They shouted out, "You're not a cop. You're not a police officer." Belter then announced, "This is a robbery," and forced himself into their home. When Senator Hoffman attempted to push Belter out and stop him from entering his home, Belter shot him repeatedly. Belter then shot Miss Hoffman repeatedly. Belter fled the scene, and the Hoffman's daughter called 911. Unfortunately, the Hoffmans survived, although they remain hospitalized. After shooting Senator Hoffman and his wife, Belter traveled to the home of another Minnesota State Representative in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Video surveillance showed that Belter rang the doorbell at the state representative's house at approximately 2:24 a.m. on Friday night. Again, he was dressed as a law enforcement officer, wearing a tactical vest and body armor, carrying a handgun and a flashlight, and wearing that same hyper-realistic silicone mask. Again, the images, as you can see on the screen, are haunting. Now, fortunately, the state representative was not home. She and her family were gone on vacation, and so Belter left. Belter then traveled to the home of a Minnesota state senator who lived in New Hope, Minnesota. He parked in the street in that same black SUV with the police license plate. At about 2:36 a.m. on Friday night, after learning of the shooting of Senator Hoffman, New Hope police dispatched an officer to conduct a wellness check on the state senator who lived in New Hope. When the New Hope officer arrived at the scene, she saw Belter's black SUV parked down the block with the lights on. The New Hope police officer believed that Belter was a police officer who had been dispatched to the scene to check on the status of the state senator. The New Hope police officer pulled up next to Belter in his car, rolled down her window, and attempted to speak with him. Belter did not respond. According to the officer, he just sat there and stared straight ahead. So the New Hope police officer, who had been dispatched to the scene, proceeded to the state senator's home, and she waited for other law enforcement to arrive. When they did, by the time they did, Belter had left the scene. Belter then traveled to Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, in the home of Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman. At approximately 3:30 a.m., Belter arrived at Representative Hortman's house in his black SUV with the police license plates. He parked in the driveway and left the emergency lights on his SUV flashing, as if he was a police officer. Belter approached Representative Hortman's home, again dressed as a police officer, wearing the tactical vest and body armor, and wearing that hyper-realistic mask. He was armed and carrying a flashlight. Before he entered the home, 2 Brooklyn Park police officers arrived at the scene. They too had been dispatched to check on Representative Hortman after learning of the shooting of Senator Hoffman. When they arrived at the scene, they saw Belter's black SUV parked in the driveway with the emergency lights flashing, and they saw Belter standing in front of the house several feet from the door. When Belter saw the officers get out of the car, he drew his weapon and began firing. He rushed into the house through the front door, firing into it. He repeatedly fired into the house, and when he entered, he murdered Representative Hortman and her husband, Mark. The Brooklyn Park police officers fired at Belter as he rushed into the home, but he escaped into the home and out the back. Officers recovered Belter's 9mm Beretta, along with the body armor and the mask, behind the home along his path of flight when he fled on foot. They later searched Belter's car, where they found 5 more firearms, including assault-style rifles and a large quantity of ammunition. Belter also had in his car notebooks containing a list of more than 45 Minnesota state and federal elected officials, including Representative Hortman. Now, Belter planned his attack carefully. He researched his victims and their families. He used the internet and other tools to find their addresses and names, the names of their family members. He conducted surveillance of their homes and took notes about the location of their homes. He also prepared in other ways. He concealed himself as a police officer, outfitting his black SUV with police lights and a police license plate, wearing a black tactical vest and body armor, carrying a police flashlight and a handgun. And of course, he wore that hyper-realistic silicone mask as seen on the surveillance videos. The video of his arrival and shooting of Senator Hoffman is truly chilling. Again, it's no exaggeration to say this is the stuff of nightmares. There's a photo of the firearms found in Belter's abandoned SUV. Based on these crimes, we brought a federal complaint charging Belter with an array of federal charges. Counts 1 and 2 charge him with stalking. Count 1 charges him with stalking Representative Melissa Hortman using interstate facilities, and that's Title 18, United States Code 2261. The statutory penalties there are life in prison. Count 2, similarly, charges him with stalking State Senator John Hoffman using interstate facilities. The maximum penalty of that count is 20 years in prison. Counts 3 and 4 charge Belter with the murder of Melissa and of the Hortmans using a firearm, but in violation of 18 U.S.C. 924J. And these are punishable by a term of life imprisonment or even death. And counts 5 and 6 charge him with shooting the Hortmans and the Hoffmans using a firearm, and both of those counts also carry a maximum sentence of life in prison. Now, before I finish my remarks, I want to say a little bit about law enforcement and the manhunt that we've heard about the last 2 days. Over the past 48 hours, Federal, state, and local law enforcement from throughout the state of Minnesota have worked together to carry out the largest manhunt in Minnesota history. Now, a lot has been said about law enforcement in recent weeks, but make no mistake, the men and women of our federal, state, and local law enforcement put their lives at risk and on the line to keep Minnesota safe. They work tirelessly, day and night, to make sure that the tragic events of Friday night ended without further violence or bloodshed. We owe them all a debt of gratitude, and they will forever have my respect and admiration. I'm going to turn it over to Special Agent Alvin Whitson from the FBI.
Thanks, Joe.
Was, of course, the U.S. Attorney. And as you heard, this is the FBI there in Minnesota. We're going to take some of his comments, then we're going to go to the State Representative. Go.
Field office, which covers the states of Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. I want to begin by extending my deepest condolences to the families of the victims and to the community that has been shaken by this devastating act of violence. Our thoughts remain with those who are grieving and all who have been impacted by this tragedy. Over the weekend, the people of Minnesota and the nation have been watching closely as this case has unfolded. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension provided a detailed update yesterday, so I won't repeat those specifics. This was a targeted attack against individuals who answered the call to public service. The FBI's role in moments like this is clear: to stand alongside our partners, bring federal resources, intelligence capabilities, and reach to the effort, not just to apprehend the individual responsible, but to understand the full scope of the threat. That work continues. This case became the largest coordinated manhunt in Minnesota's history. We are proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with our law enforcement partners across the state.
State Representative Esther Agbaje. First of all, condolences for the loss of your colleagues. This had to be, for all of you, shocking, stunning, and then when you find out that this person had a list upwards of 70 people, including Governor Tim Walz, including Attorney General Keith Ellison, and other state officials.
Yes, thank you for having me on. It has been a hard weekend, to say the least, knowing that our colleague and leader and friend was gunned down in her home. And then to find out that other legislators, local leaders, whether they were at the state level, the federal level, or local level, were also on that list. And so I think all of us are just dealing with what that means and the increased threats and safety potentially.
There were folks who were saying, oh, here was somebody that Governor Tim Walz appointed, so therefore this had to be a Democrat. Well, we now know that is not the case. We now know that this is a Donald Trump supporter, this is a conservative. And when you have folks like Utah Senator Mike Lee tweeting, blaming Democrats for what took place. In fact, this is a photo here where U.S. Senator Tina Smith from Minnesota, chased him down and wanted to talk to him about the number of tweets that he has been sending out. And what is shameful here is how Republicans are sort of blasé about what is a clear and undeniable right-wing political assassination of two Democrats, and everybody on this man's list were also Democrats.
That is what we've come to understand, that all of the legislative leaders were Democrats. And so I think that does say something about the world that we're in and the rhetoric that people continue to use. And I think it behooves us to ensure that those of us who are in elected positions are using our platforms for positive uses. And so I think, I'm glad that Senator Klobuchar went and confronted Senator Lee about his words. And I think it would make sense for all of us to be more intentional with our words moving forward.
Understand is, as a result of this, you and all others, you now have to take serious precautions. You now have to assess every single thing about safety in your offices, your home safety, and again, people expect to be able to trust law enforcement, and to have this person with a mask over his face, if y'all have the photo, and then of course impersonating a cop, and these lawmakers believing that he was legitimate.
Yeah, it's really scary that someone would take an impersonation of a police officer, whereas many of us are taught to see the police as someone who's there to protect you, someone who's there to keep you safe, someone who provides you information. And this person took complete advantage of that, went to him in the middle of the night. They're thinking that this is someone who's there to give them information or there to help them, and this is someone who harmed them. So I think that'll be very scary for a lot of people, talk less of elected officials moving forward.
Indeed, indeed. It was, again, one of the point I was making, this is Mike Lee here. He tweets, "Nightmare on Wall Street." I mean, he's literally mocking what took place. This is what the gunman looked like when he visited the home. This is how he actually looked. But that is a really shameful and despicable tweet when you have two people, a husband and a wife, one a former Speaker of the House, gunned down, two others, a state representative and his wife, shot 17 times.
Yeah, it's really horrific to think about, and it's also really horrific to think about his movements that night and the two other people he went to, and how that could have been any one of us that he went to. So I think people are still processing that. Also with, my thoughts and prayers continue to be with Senator Hoffman and his family and his wife as they continue to recover. And we pray for a speedy recovery for them. And of course, we're all devastated and really heartbroken over the loss of Representative Esther Agbaje, who was the former Speaker of the House, but I think for a lot of us will be considered Speaker forever in our heads. And so, this is just a really hard weekend, a really hard day, and a really hard time for Minnesotans going forward. But we will come together. We know how to do that. We've been through difficult times before, and we will figure out how to move forward.
We appreciate it. Again, our condolences, and please be safe. All right, folks, going to go to break. We'll be right back right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, Dexter Jenkins is a faith-based financial mentor with more than 20 years in the financial services industry. He's passionate about helping families build generational wealth.
Even though I'm talking about things like prayer, I'm talking about things about reading the word, I'm talking about things like fellowship, I'm talking to members who are dealing with losing their houses, or I'm talking to members who, because of a lack of the handling their finances, they're working 2 and 3 jobs. And so what I'm finding is that they're not coming to church because they don't have a handle on their finances.
We're talking how to get wealthy through faith and our finances on the next Get Wealthy right here, only on Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking faith, family, fatherhood, and the pathway to reentry. Most of us, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, have had someone in our lives, whether it was a grandfather, a father, an uncle, a brother, or a cousin, who has been incarcerated or justice impacted. What does that look like in rebuilding family and relationships? What does it look like for us to be able to have substantive conversations, come to the table table, love on each other, while at the same time get it all out in the open so that we can begin a new journey together.
You know, the last thing you want is in the midst of trying to piece your life back together for home to not be a comfortable place.
That's all next on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie here on Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
We are here talking about the unfortunate case of 30-year-old Adriana Smith, who was diagnosed and pronounced as brain dead at 9 weeks pregnant and is being kept alive by the state to carry this pregnancy out to full term without any input from her family. It's a really harrowing example of the lack of bodily autonomy we have in a post-war world, and we're going to dream bigger. Join us on The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Dr. Kwasi Kanadu, author, scholar, and healer. He is one of the truly representative thinkers and activists of our generation.
I had a dream, a particular night, and when I woke up, several ancestors came to me, and they came to me and said, "We really like what you're doing, but you have to do more."
His writing provides a deep and unique dive into African history through the eyes of some of the interesting characters who have lived in it, including some in his own family. The multi-talented, always fascinating Dr. Kwasi Kanadu on the next Black Table here on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Folks, lots of drama today in the federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Candace Kelley, legal analyst, joins us right now. Candace?
Yes, I want to make sure, can you hear me okay? Because there's a little bit of it's like a reverb I'm getting.
Yep, we got you. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Well, listen, as you may have heard, juror number 6 has been dismissed. This juror is a 41-year-old Black man. He was dismissed over concerns about his candor after he allegedly had conflicting discussions about where he lived. Now, as you know, there's a voir dire process, and during that process, he said that he did in fact live in the Bronx, but then someone overheard him saying that he was coming from New Jersey. So the juror had to talk to the judge about where he lived, and he flipped back and forth so much that the judge says, "Listen, we can't trust you. It seems as though you are not being candid. It seems as though you are trying to actually get on this jury." Now, the defense, certainly they argued against this because this was a 41-year-old Black man replaced by a 57-year-old white man. And they said that there was an unfair disadvantage in this. They argued this to do with race. What we are saying here is that he's not as candid as he should have been. And because of that, it seems a little suspect in terms of his motives. Now, the defense, in their 14-page letter, they said, quote, "We believe that the motive is supported not only by the government's remarkable decision to use 7 of its 9 peremptory strikes against Black jurors, but also by the history of investigation and prosecution, which is characterized often by extreme government outreach from the beginning." So they are saying that this is a race issue. If he's actually convicted Sean Combs of any one of these charges, certainly this is going to be coming up during appeal. Now, when we look at those who stand after the juror issue was figured out, we have someone who's called a summary witness. The summary witness is by the name of Anand Sankar. She's a paralegal specialist with the U.S. Office for the Southern District of New York. She had a 33-page chart that she walked the jury through. It had people, places, things, text.
What is the fuck up with this audience?
It had information that had specific discussions between Sean Combs' chief of staff, Christina Coram, and Sean Combs. And it appeared that she was setting up these freak-offs as well as coordinating the delivery of thousands of dollars in cash, as well as setting up drugs. We heard of a drug dealer by the name of Guido, and this, according to other witnesses, was one of Sean's favorite drug providers. Now, in this testimony, we also saw on this chart conversations between D. Rock Butler. I'm sure that this is a familiar name to many people who have been following the case. This is someone who's very intimately involved in Sean Combs and everything that he did from security or driving. These conversations, specifically that the prosecution was touching on, was based upon the fact that Mia, if you remember Mia, she took the stand earlier, a couple of weeks ago, and she said that after the Cassie Ventura beating video came out, that it was Sean Combs and D-Rock who reached out to her incessantly for a week, trying to convince her she thought that, this is actually a normal relationship that Cassie and Sean Combs were having. She also pointed out that D-Rock tried to allegedly attempt to send her some money, perhaps to try to bribe her in order to say something positive about Sean Combs in light of this beating video. So we heard about that. We also heard from a special agent, another summary witness. And for those people who don't know, a summary witness is someone who takes the stand and connects the dots for all of this information that we've been hearing over the past 5 weeks, or now in our 6th week of this particular trial. This particular agent talked about travel and credit records showing that allegedly Sean Combs is the one who paid for this travel. Sean Combs is the one who had paid for these particular prostitutes or they don't like to use the word prostitutes, escorts, if you will, in this situation. Also, we heard about Jules. Cassie Ventura talked a lot about Jules. So what the prosecution was trying to do with these summary and last and final witnesses is to say, hey, we may have Christina Koran, the chief of staff, coming to the witness stand, but we do have these digital records that connect her to everything that has been taking place. Now, on cross, the defense is saying, listen, there are periods of time where Christina and Sean don't reach out to any of the witnesses that have come before us and taken the stand to give their testimony. So they're saying that this wasn't something consistent, that this is something that happened every once in a while, and that there was no coercion that was consistent. That's the point that they are trying to make. We are going to hear from Brendan Paul later this week. For those people who don't know who he is a former attendee of Syracuse University, basketball player, said to be a major drug provider for Sean Combs. This is one of the final witnesses that we are going to hear about from the prosecution, Roland.
All right, Candace Kelley, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right, folks, let's go to our panel, talk about a lot of news that we want to deal with. Again, it's a whole lot, and of course what took place in Minnesota is on the minds of many. Dr. Ome Congo, being a senior professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University, author of Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racist, out of Washington, D.C. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, economist, president emerita, Bennett College, author of Surviving and Thriving, 365 Facts in Black Economic History, also joining us from D.C. Kelly Bethea, communication strategist from D.C. as well. All right, folks, when we look at what took place in Minnesota this weekend, Julianne, and then when you look at the Republican response, which is quite muted, this was a literal political assassination. This man wanted to take out some 70 people. And I guess for them, oh, well, he was a Democrat, so no big deal. And they keep talking about far-left violence, far-left violence. But he was a so-called pro-lifer, so you were upset, you're pro-life, but you choose to kill 2 people, and you really tried to kill more than that. That really is sadistic and insane.
Well, to call it insane is an understatement. I mean, this is the derangement that, quite frankly, I may be going a step too far, but I believe that this extremism is fueled by the extreme language that we're hearing these days emanating from the top. The extreme that paints the left as extreme, paints people as out of order. I mean, Mayor Karen Bass has talked, I don't know how many times, about how the contrast between what's really happening in LA and what those people are saying is happening in LA. 30,000 people on the street and only 5 arrests. I mean, come on now. You get more arrests than that at a ball game when MAGA people start drinking beer. So let's just be clear. But back to Minnesota, because it's such a tragic situation, and the sister who was assassinated, 2 children. So it's a local, but it's also a national tragedy. And the people that they have on the list, like Keith Ellison, like so many other elected officials, what bothers me the most about this, Roland, is the R's who are trying to make light of this, like Mike Lee of Utah, and many others are, this is not a joke. These are people's lives. And so I'm not sure what we do. I mean, does this discourage people from running for public office? Does it mean that we have to have more security for people? Yes. Where do we go from here with this kind of violent rhetoric? And why won't some of the Republicans who have painted the left with a broad, violent brush, why don't they back off, dial it back, and act like they have good sense? But of course, that's a little too much to ask for.
On the Congo, this really is shocking and devastating, and on so many levels. When I think about the impersonation of a cop, what immediately comes to mind for me are the number of ICE agents wearing masks, not showing IDs. And so the problem is, you don't know who the hell is who. And so if you are an American citizen, if you are a politician, and frankly, someone comes knocking on your door or knocking on your window, your position needs to be, hey, I don't know who you are. I need to see ID. I mean, even if you say I need to see ID, this man went as far as having a stun gun, a vest, lights. I mean, all of that. And I guarantee you this is going to lead to copycats.
And, it's sad because this is all the stuff that he had is all stuff you can get online. You can get it online, you can get it at a costume store, you can get it at eBay. None of this stuff is regulated. Sure, impersonating a police officer is supposed to be against the law, but you can get access similar to like bomb making material. You can learn how to do all of these things. And when you also compare that with what you said with the ICE agents, the very first time I saw that video of Vanessa in Boston, a Tufts University student, I'm like, how are we on the streets supposed to just be expected to just go up to random people who just show up in masks with no identification? And I have heard stories, Roland, of some copycats, of people who aren't affiliated with ICE at all, just going out there and snatching people up. And so this is the type of climate that the Trump administration has created. And so we all need to be on notice. If somebody rolls up on me and I should be able to fight and defend myself, and so, because I don't trust any of these guys. And when we take it to Minnesota, I didn't know, Roland, until you were talking about the fact that another cop saw him and thought he was a cop. Like, that's how extensive these guys go with their deception. And so we all have to be on edge as it relates to something like this. I like what they said when Governor Walz and the other members were putting out warnings. Somebody comes to your door, you don't know who's there, call 911 yourself and ask, has somebody been dispatched to my house? Like, we have the right to be able to do those things. But the last part I want to say is that we also need to be mindful of this idea. I've heard a lot of people say we need to tone down the rhetoric and all that both sides need to tone it down. That's absolute BS. Republican lawmakers, I'm talking about leadership. Republican lawmakers own the domain on exploiting and talking about political violence. Sure, you may get some people in liberal spaces and social media and stuff who may talk about violence here and there, but Democratic leaders do not do that. Democratic members of the Congress and House, the people who need to tone it down are the Republicans. And it starts from the top, and it starts with Trump. So all of those people who are saying we need to tone it down, if you're not going to say his name, if you're not going to say the Mike Johnson's names who said that Newsom should be tarred and feathered, other folks that Padilla should be arrested, other guys saying, violence is sending out Christmas cards with your kids holding guns, and y'all not going to call that out directly, you are not being serious about this as well. One of the ladies, who got shot, who survived, she got shot covering her trying to protect her daughter. The wife who call out the Republicans and they own this domain.
And when we talk about, again, these Republicans can talk all they want to about far left rhetoric. Kelly, is real simple. It was the right that did what they did on January 6th. It was the right that tried to kidnap Michigan Governor Whitmer. I mean, they can try all this they want to, but if there's any group that is about the business of violence, it's these right-wingers.
I mean, they essentially adopted the racist white Christian nationalist viewpoint, right? Which at its core is extremely violent, extremely aggressive. I mean, you talk about Proud Boys, you talk about KKK, you talk about neo-Nazis and the like. I don't recall this man being affiliated with anything explicitly, but it is clear that he ascribes to those schools of thought by what he did. And all of that was essentially adopted by the far right and really centered right by ignoring the far right in all of these activities, and certainly this assassination attempt and that went through. So I don't ascribe to the school of thought that people are lone wolves or anything like that. Everything, and this person was indoctrinated with everything that is out there regarding racism, anti-Semitism, any type of xenophobia, Pickenism. He took and absorbed that school of thought, and that is how we got to where we are. Republicans need to take ownership of that and any type of change, because it clearly didn't come from the left.
Yeah, I mean, these folks are absolutely in a cult. In fact, a Semaphore reporter got hold of an email that was sent from a staffer in the office of Minnesota Senator Tina Smith that was sent to the office of Senator Mike Lee. And this is what was written. I knew Melissa Hortman. Many people in this office did. She was a longtime friend of Senator Smith's who had seen her hours before she was murdered. So you'll forgive my candor as I speak through enormous grief. It's important for your office to know how much additional pain you've caused on an unspeakably horrific weekend. I'm not sure what compelled you or your boss to say any of those things, which in addition to being unconscionable, also may very well be untrue. But that is not the point. Why would you use the awesome power of a United States Senate office to compound people's grief? Is this how your team measures success? Using the office of U.S. Senator to post not just one, but a series of jokes about an assassination. Is that a successful day of work on Team Lee? Did you come into the office Monday and feel proud of the work you did over the weekend? Let's recap Saturday so you fully understand what Minnesota was going through. Melissa Hortman and her husband were murdered. Senator Hoffman and his wife were shot numerous times and remain hospitalized. By the grace of God, it appears they will survive. Senators are discovered to be on a hit list of an armed man on the run, Senator Lee's colleagues. And the decision of the office of Senator Mike Lee was not to publicly condemn the violence or to express condolences to her shattered children. It was to intimate that Melissa and Mark somehow deserve this by making jokes. Did you have any consideration for the survivors in her family, for the housemen in the hospital, for their families? You exploited the murder of a lifetime public servant and her husband to post some sick burns about Democrats. Did you see this as an excellent opportunity to get likes and retweets? Have you absolutely no conscience, no decency? I pray to God that none of you ever go through anything like this. I pray that Senator Lee and your office begin to see the people you work with in this building as colleagues and human beings. And I pray that if, God forbid, you ever find yourself on the receiving end of the kind of grace and compassion first of all, you ever find yourself having to deal with anything similar? You find yourselves on the receiving end of the kind of grace and compassion that Senator Mike Lee could not muster. Let me be perfectly clear to everybody who's watching at home and who's listening. Senator Mike Lee is a callous, pompous asshole. He's a despicable son of a bitch. I don't give a damn how you feel about Democrats. For you to say these things when two people gunned down, that woman covered her children, shielded them from being killed. Family dog shot, had to be euthanized. The man wanted to kill others. And you think it's cute to make fun? And here's the crazy thing. His party isn't condemning him. Do you think for a second that if a Democrat did such a thing, if Republicans had been gunned down, do you think that person's fellow Democrats would say nothing? Do you think they would be silent? No. They would be condemning that fellow Democrat. But here we sit as this cult, this shameless, despicable cult, follow that pathetic moral degenerate that sits in the Oval Office. Because keep in mind, that asshole, Donald Trump, made fun when Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked by a crazed individual with a hammer. But see, that's who they are. Let's joke about it. Let's make fun of it. Oh, this is just exciting. Every Democrat should take to the floor of the United States Senate and condemn Senator Mike Lee. And in fact, they should introduce a motion to censure and put every Republican on the record to see if they idly stand by and defend that pathetic, decrepit son of a bitch from Utah. Now, I don't call folks those terms. But in this case, Utah Senator Mike Lee is an absolute piece of shit and deserves to be called out. And so does every single Republican that remains silent in the face of this political assassination. This party claims to be filled with evangelicals. This party claims to love Jesus. This party claims that, oh my God, they are the moral standard. No, they're not. They're fake Christians. They're hypocrites. They're charlatans. That's who they are. And they can try to spin this guy as being, oh, a Marxist, a Democrat. Nope. His own friends have come out and said, oh, no, he was ardent supporter of Donald Trump. There's video of him preaching his right-wing rhetoric in African nations like the Congo. This man, shameful. And guess what? This was a federal shooting. That means he can get a death penalty. But you know what? At the rate Trump's going, he's going to get a pardon. And by the way, Trump just loved putting folks to death on a federal death row. Well, let's see what happens in this case. But then again, knowing Trump and the Republican Party, they'll give this man the Presidential Medal of Freedom and tell him, son, job well done. Because that's who they are. When we come back, we're going to talk immigration and how this thug in the Oval Office wants to target blue Democrat-led cities when it comes to immigration. Oh, but did y'all hear? He said, don't raid farms, don't raid hotels, don't raid restaurants. That's because his supporters complained that their businesses were being disrupted. We'll talk to a California Congresswoman next about that. Folks, support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Show, the Black Star Network as well, by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. You get to support all the shows on the network. We got some great stuff coming down the pipeline as well. Looking forward to it. So if you want to contribute via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. Click the Cash App button to continue to contribute. Checks and money order, make them payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. You can mail them to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Back in a moment.
This week on the other side of change.
We are here talking about the unfortunate case of 30-year-old Adriana Smith, who was diagnosed and pronounced as brain dead at 9 weeks pregnant and is being kept alive by the state to carry this pregnancy out to full term without any input from her family. It's a really harrowing example of the lack of bodily autonomy we have in a post-Roe world, and we're going to dream bigger. Join us on the other side of change, only on the Black Star Network.
What's up? It's Sammy Roman. Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, things hit a boiling point in Los Angeles. Protests erupted all across the country as a result of ICE agents just storming into graduations, all in the streets, using their power to arrest people. It has been an awful situation. You've seen Donald Trump, of course, attacking Governor Gavin Newsom, attacking Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. You literally have had Kristi Noem actually say that their goal is to rid the state of these Democratic leaders. This ain't about, y'all, this is not, trust me, it's not about immigration. It literally is about them wanting to take over the state. National Guard troops have rolled in. Marines have hit the streets. Protesters did not back down. Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager-Dove joins us right now. She's a congresswoman from Los Angeles. Glad to have you back on the show. You and others have been standing up, pushing back against this thug, against their Gestapo tactics, how they are just showing up, not showing IDs, not showing warrants, not showing their faces, and just saying, oh, we're here, trust us. In fact, I was looking at a video before we were in the break. What's absolutely crazy to me is how this one ICE agent was literally standing there talking about, oh, well, we have a quota, so I got to take somebody. So y'all figure out but I got to take somebody. That's literally what we are up to right here.
Yeah, amen. So a couple of weeks ago, we were having graduations. We were getting ready to celebrate Pride. And then these ICE agents stormed the entire city and started snatching folks from graduations, from, laundromats, from elementary schools, from jobs, and has created, a cloud of fear and trauma. California has the largest population of immigrants in the country, and we are also the fourth largest economy in the world. So those data points go hand in hand. We are competitive with other countries because of our immigrant community. And let's not get it twisted. We're not just talking about brown folks. We're talking about Eastern Europeans. We're talking about folks from the Asian diaspora. We're talking about folks from the African diaspora. And you are correct. Stephen Miller said we have a quota of 3,000. He does not care where they find them. So they are kidnapping U.S. citizens, legal immigrants, and immigrants that are actually going into their hearings for a court appearance to get the progress of their immigrant status. Okay, this is thuggery at the highest. And let me tell you something. It is not about immigration. It is about distracting the country from the failed policies coming out of this administration, which include the tanking of our economy.
What's crazy is, again, you're sitting here and you're listening to all this crazy rhetoric. They don't care about court orders. They don't care about judicial rulings. Again, they want anarchy. That's what he wants.
He does. I've said it from the beginning. This is someone who's a content creator, and he is the ultimate reality TV star. So because he's not a leader, because he doesn't know how to govern, he wants to manufacture chaos, distraction, and violence. And that is what he is doing with Department of Homeland Security. Having Kristi Noem with the cosplay, rolling up in here. I mean, the tanks and the lights, that is a great distraction. But we have to stand firm and talk about what's really going on and reshift the narrative. There is absolutely no reason why these folks should be coming in masked, not showing ID, not having judicial warrants. There is absolutely no reason why 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 17-year-olds should be getting kidnapped and detained and deported to where when this is their country. And we have an obligation to stand up and talk about it, because I don't care what the polls say. What we know for sure is that people do not want their neighbors deported. They don't want the woman who helps them at the diner deported. Father's Day happened on Sunday. I took my husband out to eat. It was eerily quiet on the streets because folks are scared to come out. And then when I looked at the folks running the restaurant, they were all brown folks. They were all immigrants. And it's a Michelin star restaurant. So that ain't no DEI. That is meritorious, okay? That is competition. That is success. And he is so salty that Democratic states refuse to bend the knee that he is deciding to come after us. But like I say, don't come for us unless we send for you. So we're going to have to keep protesting in the streets, and we're going to have to be showing up at these courts with these lawsuits to stop his crazy self from what he's doing. This is what the thug-in-chief posted on his Truth Social. He talked about, give me one second. He talked about, which is absolutely crazy to me. Everything he says is crazy.
Yeah, everything he says is crazy. Everything he says is crazy.
But he don't need to liberate us. He don't need to liberate no Democratic states. We're doing just fine.
Well, the thing that's amazing to me is that he lays out here that ICE leading the largest mass deportation operation of illegal aliens in history. Then he goes, in order to achieve this, we must expand efforts to detain and deport illegal aliens in America's largest cities, such as Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. And these and other such cities are the core of the Democrat power center, where they use illegal aliens to expand their voter base, cheat in elections, and grow the welfare state, robbing good-paying jobs and benefits from hard-working American citizens. These radical left Democrats are sick of mine, hate our country, and actually want to destroy our inner cities, and they're doing a good job of it. there's something wrong with them, that is why they believe in open borders, transgender for everybody, and men playing in women's sports, and that is why I want ICE, Border Patrol, and our great and patriotic law enforcement officers to focus on our crime-ridden blah, 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 blah. Here's what's interesting. So let's unpack this. First of all, the places where you have the most undocumented workers are red states. Texas, Florida. You've got white farmers who said they all voted for Trump, crying, we're gonna all lose our farms because all of our workers have left. That's red state.
Contractors,
okay.
laborers.
Then he says in here, grow the welfare state. Okay, last I checked, the states that, matter of fact, because a lot of people don't really understand the history. Let's see, states that receive, and I've done this before, but I just want people to understand.
You need to tell the folks of California, donor state. You're gonna say it.
I mean, all these people, they're complaining about California, but California is responsible for the economy of a whole bunch of red states. So let's see here. Which states receive the most on federal aid? So
break it down.
So then when they start talking about federal aid and population and who depends the most and per resident, all that sort of stuff like that. Alaska, the highest state rate of federal funding. It's a lot of it's what they got Republicans representing them. And then let's see here, Wyoming, another red state. And then
Mississippi, Alabama,
Tennessee, South Carolina, Arkansas. I mean, we can just keep going. I mean, if it wasn't for blue states, it's a bunch of. That's why Marjorie Taylor Greene was like, we should succeed. Okay, take your broke ass on.
Bye, Felicia. Let me tell you something. California gives more money to the federal government than we get back, and we give more money than 24 states combined. So look, if they want to fuck with California, they can. We're already having discussions about, can we withhold our money? Because those 24 states, most of them red, depend on revenue coming from the state of California. This is why he doesn't want to talk about the economy. They can focus on immigration, but it was all of his donors, like you said, and not just farmers, folks in the restaurant business and food services, folks in apparel who are calling and saying, hey, don't go after my folks. There are contractors that don't have any laborers anymore, folks who have worked with them for 15, 20 years, part of their family. In fact, and they're the ones that are getting detained. And this isn't just happening in California, it's happening everywhere. But these Republicans are so cowardice that they don't even have enough respect for themselves and their country to stand up and say, this isn't working. They can figure out a way to make that man save face if they want to, but this is going to cripple the entire economy of the United States. And let me tell you something else. This man has said that he is the chair of the task force for the Olympics and for FIFA, both of whom will be in Los Angeles. We just had an opening ceremony yesterday here. If you want butts in the seats, if you want concessions, if you want people to spend some money and say, oh, Donald Trump's FIFA was a success, you need to stop trying to kidnap folks. Why they got Border Patrol, Customs and Border Patrol putting on Facebook, we're going to be here patrolling the games. Why they have Mexico have to call Trump and say, don't be taking our people when they're coming up here, because ICE can't decide who's legal, who isn't, who's a rich person and who isn't. They're just going to be snatching because they are racially profiling. And all of this does impact the dollars in our pockets.
So WalletHub.com, before I go to my panel for questions, WalletHub.com put this together. Most federally dependent states. Overall, number 1, Alaska, red. Number 2, Kentucky, red. Even though they have a Democratic governor. Number 3, West Virginia, red. Number 4, Mississippi, red. Number 5, South Carolina, red. Number 6, New Mexico, blue. Number 7, Louisiana, red. Number 8, Arizona, blue. Number 9, Indiana, red. Number 10, Alabama, red. Number 11, South Dakota, red. Number 12, Wyoming, red. Then you get Maine, Maryland, Vermont, blue. But then you go 16, red. Oklahoma, 17, red. Missouri, 18, red. Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, 21, red. Arkansas, red, 22. Oregon, Michigan, North Dakota, 25. Florida, 26. Then New Hampshire, Minnesota, Hawaii, Ohio, red. So if I just look at the top 30, let me just count the top 30 that's red. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 of the top 30 states that are most federally dependent, 18 of the 30 are red states. And now, and then when you go down, but people who don't understand money, when you go down to the bottom, okay, New Jersey, California, Delaware, Massachusetts, go to Illinois, and then of course you have, let's see, hold up. Where's California? California's 49. Okay, so New Jersey, so I need people to understand, where does the money in America come from? The bottom states. So look at 37 through the bottom. New York, okay, or Virginia, 35. Virginia, New York, Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, Delaware, California, New Jersey. That's actually, those are the states funding the country, but Trump wants to attack those states.
That's right. Well, you know, he's a businessman, right? With all of his failed businesses, selling miracles and gold toilets and shoes and all of that. So that's why it is so important that we are staying focused on the money and the economy. You know, he spent 45 million of our dollars for that very sad parade, right? Where nobody showed up. Meanwhile, you have 5 million Americans showing up at these protests around the country over the weekend, standing up for our money and the Constitution, and to say we don't want a petty, petulant, orange person in the White House who doesn't seem to care about anybody except himself. And that's the real issue, because he don't even care about the Republicans.
Questions from my panel. Real quick with the questions. First off, Omakongo.
Congresswoman, thank you so much for what you're doing and your voice. I want to get your thoughts on the ground, because so many people have talked about how Latino and Black community have not been coming together. There's been, well, you voted for this person and you didn't care, so we don't care, and then F around and find out. What are you seeing on the ground now? Has this situation with Trump brought more people together, or is it keeping them divided?
Well, we are still in the fuck around and find out stage, but it is unifying communities. As I mentioned, I was at a restaurant the other day. It is a Latino restaurant, and my heart was full at how amazing the food was and the service was, and also, you know, how traumatized these communities are, having to figure out curfews and when to go home and how to stay safe because they don't want to be, you know, jacked up. And what you realize is how interconnected we all are. You go to your dry cleaner, you go to your liquor store, you go to your hair salon, you go to your nail shop, you go to your bank, you go, you know, wherever you're going, you are being touched by an immigrant of some ethnicity. And we have to talk about that, and we have to protect our neighbors. So these protests, I think, are reminding the country how dependent we are. In fact, we were founded on immigrants, and we have to uphold that and push back on the white supremacy that's coming out of this White House.
Kelly.
Good evening, Congresswoman. I just want to say your Is This Shit Legal series on TikTok and Instagram made my day, so I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you so much. My question to you is actually in regards to the media on this issue, because what's happening in LA is very reminiscent of the uprising that happened in Baltimore about. I was living in Baltimore at the time. I remember, you know, reporters coming in, obviously doing their job, covering the story, but it made it seem so much more than what it was. I'm not undermining what happened. There was certainly unrest, but it was all of less than a square mile. And for my friends who are, in LA, and of course, I'm a good friend. I'm a good
All
cousin.
right, Kelly, her time is running short. I got to get to the question. Her time's running short.
I get a lot of reverb, so I'm sorry, Roland. My question to you is, Congresswoman, your response to media regarding their coverage on this, because I feel like how they've been covering it exacerbates the issue and doesn't really hone in on what is and what needs to happen.
Ability to also not get distracted by the stories coming out of the content creator in the White House. Los Angeles is a city of 503 square miles. Protests happened within 1 square mile, okay? We have 4 million people in the city. 30,000 folks protested. I think there were 5 arrests. Okay, 1%, close to 1% of the city came out. And 5%, 5 arrests out of 4 million people is de minimis. That is fairy dust. I don't even know why we're talking about it. And showing the Waymo on fire over and over and over again, it was the same Waymo. And you know what? You can't. I talked to the police chief. You can't put out a fire on a Tesla or a Waymo because it is such toxicity. It is such a hazard if you do that because of those lithium batteries. So people need to remember that this is a content creator. He was manufacturing a show in Los Angeles, entertainment capital of the world. You need to zoom out, media. You need to zoom out and see the director's chairs and the grips and the craft services and the lights and the cords, all of that laid down by Kristi Noem and DHS to bring you some kind of reality TV show. And that's what they didn't do, unfortunately. The media didn't pan out. I was driving around the city. You didn't even know protests were happening in the majority of the communities where everyone lives. And so, the media has an obligation to correct and tell the real story.
Julian.
Congresswoman, thank you for your leadership and for your work. I'm reminded of a play by Douglas Turner Ward. It was written in the late 60s called Days of Absence. In that play, all the black people disappeared. And the question became, what would we do? White folks were going crazy because they couldn't even wash their own dishes. And so they were begging black people to come back. There's a parallel in terms of our anti-immigrant status. Mm-hmm. What will we do if immigrant people disappear? That's why the Orange Man decided to lift his anti-immigration stuff for farm workers, hospitality workers, and select others. I know that our Democrats are in the minority, and I know that we send some fearless fighters from California.
Julian, the Congresswoman literally has to go. I got to get your question. Come on.
Okay, so here's my question. What's next around immigration, and where is the resistance?
Well, the resistance is in the streets. I have 5 million people on a Saturday across the country standing up and saying this man is a buffoon and he's tanking your economy is the beginning of a resistance. Now, how we maintain that, we have to continue to maintain it. It is important that we remind folks that we have been winning in elections. We Wisconsin Supreme Court, a couple of seats in Pennsylvania, Omaha, Nebraska. Those were red seats with the exception of the Supreme Court, but those were red seats that turned blue. And keeping that Wisconsin seat was incredibly important for us in terms of the judiciary. That is where we're winning. We're also winning in the courts. Over 250 lawsuits filed, and we've been successful in the majority of them. And showing up, because we have got to be clear and consistent about our narrative. They have an incredible operation going on the Republican side with influencers and with media. They do have the bully pulpit. But look what happened on Saturday. 5 million people to the paltry numbers that showed up at his little parade birthday party in the rain, and you saw more folks trying to get out of the parade than you saw watching it. You saw the tanks squeaking because there weren't enough crowds cheering to drown out the noise. So we have to keep doing that so that the mainstream media cannot turn away. It is also important that we talk about immigration reform. This might be controversial, but under both Biden and Obama, a lot of deportations happened. They deported far more than Donald Trump. They did it in a humane way, in a way that was more dignified, that didn't have all these, shenanigans going on, that were lawful, and now you see this man who just wants chaos and major disruption. So we have to lean into that. You can have border security, you can have immigration reform. And we have an obligation to remind people that there was a bipartisan immigration reform package that Donald Trump told the Republicans to kill because he did not want Joe Biden to have that win. And now these Republicans in these red states, like Roland just said, who are dependent on agriculture and on laborers, they're in trouble, because if you deport all those folks that are helping them with their little raggedy economies, they are going to crumble. It is exactly what happened when the man came in with the reconciliation bill and started slashing and burning grants to colleges and universities. Now, of course, all colleges and universities are going to suffer because a lot of them get contracts from the federal government. But the ones in the red states are more dependent on that money than the blue states. Okay, so they are basically getting bent over by this man, and they don't even have the Constitution to fight for their people. The resistance comes when you speak truth to power and when you fight.
Congresswoman, always great to have you. Look forward to you coming back. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Gonna go to break. We come back. That joke of a parade, boy, this weekend. We're gonna talk about that. Also, NAACP not inviting Donald Trump or J.D. Vance to their convention. First time that's happened in 116 years. We'll discuss all of that on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on the other side of change.
State of the Democratic Party.
What are the barriers preventing us from seeking true liberation and including more voices in that process?
They overlook Black organizers, young Black people, the work that we do all throughout the year. But then when the election cycle comes around, now all of a sudden they want to listen to us, listen in quotation marks. Now all of a sudden they want our labor and our contributions. And it's just like, for me, I'm at the point where it's like, no, we're not doing that.
Tune in only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up? Geek Tony in the place to be. Got Kicked Out Your Mama's University, creator and executive producer of Fat Tuesdays, an air hip-hop comedy. But right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
All right, folks. NAACP, for the first time in their 116-year history, are not inviting the sitting president or the vice president of their convention. They cite Donald Trump and his shameless and despicable violation of the United States Constitution as a reason for that. Let me read for you the statement that they actually sent out today regarding this decision. For 116 years, the NAACP has invited the sitting president of the United States to address the NAACP National Convention. Regardless of their political party, there's a rich history of both Republicans and Democrats attending our convention, from Harry Truman to Dwight D. Eisenhower to Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and beyond. We're nonpartisan and always welcome those who believe in democracy and the Constitution. But right now, it's clear Donald Trump is attacking our democracy and our civil rights. He believes more in the fascist playbook than in the U.S. Constitution. This playbook is radical and un-American. The president has signed unconstitutional executive orders to oppress voters and undo federal civil rights protections. He has illegally turned the military on our communities, and he continually undermines every pillar of our democracy to make himself more powerful and to personally benefit from the U.S. government. The NAACP convention has always been a place where people across the country come together to map out our advocacy and mobilization strategies to advance civil rights and democracy for all. Our annual convention is meant to be a safe space for all people, regardless of political ideology, who believe in multiracial democracy and the ideal of building a more perfect union. To that end, the NAACP has made the decision to break with tradition and not invite Donald Trump or J.D. Vance this year. The administration does not respect the Constitution or the rule of law. It would be a waste of our time and energy to give a platform to fascism, which would be unacceptable. Julian, I wish NABJ took the same stance last year when they invited Donald Trump to our convention.
I agree with you fully, Roland. I think the NAACP has always, I remember, years ago, protesting some of the people who have been invited, but they've been very, very nonpartisan, and basically it's a sitting president. We respect a sitting president. This president is a lightning rod for disrespect. There is nothing about him or his policies that deserve respect. Right on to Derek and the NAACP for drawing a line there and saying, oh, hell no, because all he's going to do is go in there and lie. I mean, just basically lie. These people don't know the truth of it, laid in the bed with them. I mean, so it's really important for us to draw some lines here. Understanding a number of things. One of the things that I frequently point out is that these Republicans talk about Joe Biden's mental acuity. But we have a living example of someone unraveling in our faces, unraveling with just pure lies. But the other thing is he has no place in our civil rights organizations, our traditional civil rights organizations, when he's attempting to take DEI away, when he wants to take names off of airplanes and submarines, Medgar Evers, Harriet Tubman, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Come on, these are our allies. And so to do that is to basically thumb his nose in our face. And if we were to invite him under those circumstances, to paraphrase Roland Martin, we would be a bunch of GD fools.
Look, I think it's sloppy. No, at the end of the day, this is staying on the right side of history time. Like, how are you going to be remembered? Whether we're talking about organizations like the NAACP, whether we're talking about journalists like Moran who said, hey, I got to tell the truth. This is not the time for people to just play things by the book normally. Well, this is how we've done it for 116 years. This is how we've done it this has been our tradition. This is how we do as a news organization. We're fighting a wannabe dictator who does not believe in any types of laws. And we have discovered through this whole process with Trump that we don't really have laws in this country as it relates to certain things. We have norms. And all someone has to do is come along and just say, no, I'm not going to go with that norm. And everything gets thrown into disarray. This is why it's important to fight back against Trump at every single level. How many people on Senator Lee's staff today? How many people who sponsored his campaign withdrew, are saying they're not going to support them in the next campaign unless he recognizes it's wrong? And all of these things that are happening that people are not cleaning up for need to be documented and called out so we can let people know where they stood in this moment. NAACP could have easily said, well, this is what we've done. But they said no, because they decided that they wanted to be on the side of what's right. And principles are more important than some type of tradition. And I applaud them for doing so. More organizations need to do the same.
Folks, again, it's just absolutely crazy. Now, over the weekend, here in D.C., Trump threw himself a birthday party, courtesy of the federal government and the U.S. Army. It's supposed to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. That's not what it's about. It was all about him. And his people were like, oh, my God, we're going to have 250,000 patriots. No, it wasn't even close. As a matter of fact, that idiot Stephen Chung, who was Trump's communications director, that fool actually sent out a tweet thanking. It was just stupid. Let me find this stupid tweet. He goes, amazing, despite the threat, let me pull it up, y'all. He goes, amazing, despite the threat of rain, over 250,000 patriots showed up to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. God bless the USA. Y'all, this ain't 250,000. This ain't matter of fact, you have more people at the Taste of Soul in Los Angeles than you had at this little. Y'all, come on now. Come on now. It's going to be more people at Essence Fest than was at this little bitty get-together this fool had. And y'all know he was falling asleep at multiple times in the event. Yeah, boy, look at them. Look at the boy. I love the look at all that space. Look at all that space. I could hit some golf balls in all that space. It's a joke. That's all it was. It was trash. And of course, the No Kings protest dwarfed this crap. Millions of people in Los Angeles, Philadelphia, in West Palm, small towns all across the country, they were protesting this idiot. Omekongo, I just thought it was hilarious seeing these right-wingers try to defend this. In fact, one of the things that jumped out at me, Omekongo, I saw this tweet, and when I saw the video, I was like, I think the troops don't give a damn about this Trump parade. Hold up, troops marching. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. And this guy posted a video, and it was like, yeah, man, we ain't even. Let me show y'all something, okay? And this guy tweeted Omekongo. He said, I think these troops were showing their resistance. No. I'm gonna go back to the beginning. Okay, so let me set this up, y'all. When you normally see troops, left, right, left, they are on time, they have precision. So there's one person opined that he thought when seeing this video, this was the troops' way of protesting. Y'all, I have never seen U.S. troops in a so-called military parade walking like they going to the store. Check this out. Y'all, they just walking. Now you see one group, but look at this here. They all on different feet. They just walk. I ain't never seen that, y'all. Omekongo, these cats were like, say, dog, look, we here. We wasting our damn time here. They just walking and chilling. You never seen that. This one former member of the military said this was their way of protesting this damn event. And I think that's kind of makes sense, Omekongo.
I believe it. I mean, I've seen some posts of people were actually like controlling this by contrasting it with marches from other countries and showing how they march in sync with their weapons and so on and so forth. That makes perfect sense. I mean, the way that he's doing the National Guard, the Marines, the Army, I feel bad for so many of them. Some of them are MAGA and they're good at this, but so many are just trying to do their job, trying to be out there to serve the country. They're not trained to do work on the ground in their own country. And so I completely understand if they decided, yeah, let's just get through this thing because we have to. And it's another embarrassment for Trump, really, at the end of the day. And I think they're also like, he's not doing this for the Navy. He's not doing this for the Marines. So he's actually showing dissension because they also got 250-year birthdays this year as well. They're not going to get all of this. So he's breaking up any type of military cohesion. And I think those soldiers were definitely like, we're going to march through here because we got to. But that's all we're going to give you, Trump. I completely see that. So I agree with that, the person who you saw post that.
I mean, somebody posted, this was a video, Horse Guards Parade. Y'all, look at these trips. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Look at this here. Precision. Okay, with their marching. All right. Let me show y'all what took place on Saturday. And I'm telling you, it's all over social media. Everybody's commenting. They like, yeah, yeah, man, okay, all right, shit. We gotta be here. They made us come, so damn. Why don't we walk to Ben's Chili Bowls? It's gonna get us something to eat. I mean, Julian, that's all they didn't want to be there.
No, it's amazing that they didn't just start pimp walking at some point in there. They had them sleeping in empty office buildings. That's real comfortable.
And Julian, it was so few people you could hear the tanks creaking coming down the street.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Roland, my sister, who happens to be your biggest fan, Marianne Malvo, sent me this thing from an organization called Melanin Events. They were paying people to come to show up at that event. They were paying people $500. They could get it through Venmo, Bitcoin, or PayPal. And all they had to do, they had to come, they'd be there at 9 a.m. on, I think, Constitution Avenue. They were given a free lunch. All they had to do was wear red, white, and blue. And they were the seat fillers, etc. That went out on Friday for Saturday because they knew that nobody was coming. Organizations called Melanin Events, so I guess they were looking for black people.
And this how they responded. Move along. We ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. Move along. We ain't doing that. That's how they responded. So it's absolutely crazy. So, but
not even the military, and even the military people that we know who respect the military, who are veterans, they quantified some of their stuff by saying, yeah, we respect the military, but this is ridiculous. $45 million at least. At least. We could have restored funding for the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Education with that kind of money. We could have, how many jobs could we have generated? Nobody was excited about this, but, the Orange Man.
Folks, you want to talk about what's shameful? Check this out. The Veterans Administration, under a new rule, is literally saying that doctors don't have to actually serve as Democrats or unmarried veterans. This is an order from the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief, Mr. Bone Spurs, who's never served in the military. The policy extends, y'all, to psychologists, dentists, and other healthcare professionals. It is already being implemented at some VA medical centers. Now, while VA staff may still treat veterans regardless of race, color, religion, or sex, they are now permitted to decline care based on personal characteristics that are not explicitly protected under federal law. VA hospitals have authority to exclude physicians and other medical personnel based on their union activity, marital status, or political party affiliation. The Department of Veterans Affairs, y'all, is the nation's largest integrated healthcare system, comprising more than 170 hospitals, more than 1,000 clinics, employs 26,000 doctors, and serves 9 million patients annually. That absolutely, Omekongo, is trash.
Wow. I mean, this is what I mean when I say no more laws, that just norms, and you don't have to really obey them. Deny Democrats care because of their political affiliation. This goes to what I just said about Senator Mike Lee in terms of being on the right side of history moment. Where are the Republican veterans going to stand as it relates to this? Are the people who they served with in Vietnam and Afghanistan and all of these places really their brother, really their sister? Trump, when people came up with that whole taco thing, Trump always chickens out. Trump does back down when he's confronted en masse, when people stand up and say no. And so if other Republicans and other Republicans who claim to support and love the military, if they don't get out and say something about this, these types of things are going to continue. And so this is just another way that, and I'm not even going to say that this is a distraction because this is real, to deny veterans the care that they need psychologically, emotionally, physically, that's a death trap for them and their families. And so in order to do that right now, again, this is the time where everybody needs to stand up and show exactly where they are. And for any Republican soldiers or Republican veterans or Republican Congress people and senators who claim that they care about the military and we speak up on this, their hypocrisy is real. And this is when we just continue to march towards that next election because they all got to go.
Julian, there's no way in hell if Joe Biden did this, Republicans will be silent.
No, this is absurd. Look, this person never served a day in the military. Not a person in his family, from those no good grifting sons of his to the daughters, has served a day in the military. And yet, what they come up with is something punitive toward veterans, punitive in terms of saying, well, any individual worker, they're not saying we won't treat you, but any individual physician, as an example, can say to an unmarried woman, an unmarried female veteran, let's be clear, that I don't want to treat you. They can, obviously, there's some implications here around choice and issues around reproductive health. So if someone needs something around those issues, the doctor may feel free to say, oh no, I don't feel like doing that. And don't drive up into the parking lot with a Biden sticker on your car, because you very well may then be denied health care. This is absurd, but it is consistent. And Congo is absolutely right. Here's the deal. When will Republicans who have good sense, and I realize that's a shrinking population, but when will Republicans with good sense who know better stand up and say, oh, hell no? And the fact is that they drank the Kool-Aid, every little bit of it, and then they put their tongue back into the glass to get the grains out. They are afraid to go against this man. But if they go against him on issues like this, they're basically letting us know what kind of patriots they are. What we right now know is that they basically are, like I said, they drank the Kool-Aid. He's Jim Jones, and they're about to die.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks, let's talk about something they wanted to do regarding Medgar Evers. Of course, last week was the anniversary of the assassination of Medgar Evers, gunned down in his driveway. Well, this idiot Pete Hegseth, one of the most grossly unqualified secretaries of defense in American history, I say he's number one. He wants to actually remove Medgar Evers' name and those of others from battleships. Yes, the latest is the USNS Medgar Evers, named for the World War II veteran and former NAACP field secretary in Mississippi. He is there are 8 Navy vessels named after activists: Cesar Chavez, Harvey Milk, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, of course, Supreme Court Justice, and also, of course, major lawyer before that, Harriet Tubman, with it now all under review. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is pushing to rename the ship, part of a broader move to erase what he called wokeness from the military. Hegseth said he wants to restore the military's warrior ethos. The Evers family says it's personal. They call the plan malicious and despicable. And of course, South Carolina Congressman Jim Clyburn blasted it, saying it isn't about politics, it's about preserving white supremacy.
I want to ask my colleagues, what does Army readiness have to do with erasing Medgar Evers' war record from our website? Medgar Evers fought for this country, came home to Mississippi, and was shot dead by an assassin. And we are now erasing his contribution from our website. Mr. Chairman, I had some others here that I can't do down in the South. We talk a little slower, and therefore I can't get to these other examples. But I want us to think about these contributions. Think about Jackie Robinson, who fought for this country, and what he had to endure just to play baseball. And we are erasing him and his record from the website. I'll yield back, but please, let's think about this as we vote today.
Julian, real quick, your comment?
This is consistent with the anti-DEI focus of this administration. It's consistent with their need to erase, as Congressman Clyburn said, erase Black people. It is beyond despicable to take Medgar Evers' name off of a Navy vessel. He was a veteran, but again, this is a triple standard, and I hope that the Congress does not allow this to happen. But again, they've all drank the Kool-Aid, and it probably will, and we all have to push back. If indeed this does happen, it needs to be replaced in the next administration, and there need to be some rules about some of this stuff. This is disgusting. What is consistent with the Fort Bragg situation, with the president saying he wants to name a fort after Robert E. Lee? Excuse me. it's hard to believe that they are serious about this stuff, but we know they are because the plan is read Project 2025. They want to erase us.
Omekongo?
This is a racist, sexist, homophobic Department of Defense. Add some other qualifiers as well, and this is who they are. No, it's Pride Month. And what did they also want to get rid of? The name of one of the ships that's named after Harvey Milk was an openly gay politician in California in 1978. This is who they are, and so now they want to turn them together again. A veteran. And so who's going to be speaking up? And on top of that, going with what Rihanna said, get rid of the Black names, get rid of LGBTQ faces, get rid of the women, and bring back the names of Confederate generals on the bases, on the ship, and the list goes on and on. Again, there is no confusion about what they are doing. And the question becomes, how many people are going to stand up? Are people in the military? I know all so on and so forth, but again, how long can you stay in the military if you represent one of these yourself being erased every single day? Well, what's going to happen to you? What happens to morale? Are you going to feel the desire to fight for this country? Pete Hegseth talks about lethality and we need to have all of this. The moral oppression of these soldiers has to be drawing on them, and I think that's going to affect our readiness as well.
Folks, if y'all want to get a kick, so the idiot in chief is at the G7 summit. And while there, he actually started whining and complaining. Now, we all know that he's in the pocket of Putin. We all know that, okay? It ain't even close. So listen to this fool complain about Russia being kicked out of the G7. Used to be the G8. Listen to this fool.
Together very well. I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in. And I would say that was a mistake because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in. And you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago. But it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table. So it makes life more complicated. But you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a lot.
He's an idiot, y'all. The reason he's an idiot, Russia was kicked out of the G8 because they invaded Crimea. And they were told, you take this action, we're kicking your ass out. But this dumbass, I mean, I've never seen anybody, Omekongo, what Putin has on him has got to be amazing. This man kisses more Putin ass than Putin's girlfriends.
I don't know what this man has on Trump, but one day it's going to come out. I think it was Malcolm Nance who said that the Russians have had files on Trump since like 1977 because his first wife was from the then Soviet Union. And so like they've been tracking him for a very long time. And the way that it's just disgraceful that the way that he defers them at every single junction. And Putin doesn't care about anything he has to say about Ukraine. The president of the United States is a joke to this man, to Vladimir. And for him to go there, not even be able to his blazer, there and bring out Russia, it's disgraceful. I don't know what Putin has on this man, but I guarantee you Putin is going to release it because that's just going to help restore war dissension in the United States. But the fact that this man continues to bring up Russia like this, it's disgraceful. But yeah, man, he's got the goods on him for real.
He tried to use this stage to also attack Democrats, and the Canadian Prime Minister Carney was like, "They're not. We ain't doing that."
And they think they're going to. And they think all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen.
That's it. Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to exercise my role, if you will, as G7 chair, since we have a few more minutes with the president and his team, and then we actually have to start the meeting to address some of these big issues. So
thank you. Thank you, media. Let's go. Thank you. That's it. That's it. Thank you very much. Out. Go, guys. Out. Thank you. Katie, let's go.
I mean, that's exactly what you have to do, because that dumbass would have kept talking like he always does. And it's crazy. And then the other thing is, he actually think he runs the G7. He thinks he runs the G7. He doesn't. We truly have an idiot representing the United States.
Well, you know, Roland, once we were referred to as the most powerful nation on the globe, once, maybe a year ago, and maybe since World War II. But what we are witnessing before our very eyes is the denouement of the power of the United States, the end of our eminence. We're looking at a weaker dollar with alternative currencies being explored. We're looking at waning influence with Netanyahu doesn't care what he says. Putin doesn't care what he says. I mean, if I want to read pornography, I guess I would want to look at the file. But since I don't do pornography, we're going to pass on the file and just say, you know, with 50 years or 100, it'll probably all come out. But meanwhile, beyond an idiot, we have a venal grifter whose purpose is not to support and defend the Constitution, nor the people of the United States. His sole purpose is to make a lot of money for the Trump family, to institute a racist agenda, and to show contempt for institutions that it took, you know, decades, centuries to put together. So no, our institutions are not always perfect, but this fool has taken a vessel and just thrown it on the ground like a petulant child, watching it shatter into thousands of shards just so he can walk around and feel large and in charge. And it's only feel. And it's only actually, without being gross, when they change his diaper on time. So that's all. I mean, we're literally watching our country implode.
We are. All right. Let me thank Julian. Let me thank Omi Congo. Let me thank Kelly. Should have leave us early as well. I appreciate y'all being on the show. Thank you so very much. Folks, don't forget, support the work that we do. Join the Brina Funk fan club. We know it's critically important for the work that we do. Hit us up by joining our Brina Funk fan club. Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. If you want to give me a Cash App, go there. If you want to support us via check and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Send to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Also, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to, of course, get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version I read on Audible. You can download that. Also, of course, if you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag, do so by going to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com. The QR code is there as well. If you have any issues that you order merchandise, please let us know so we can assist you in getting that merchandise. And of course, if you want to, download the app Fanbase, please do so. Download the app Fanbase. If you want to invest, go to startengine.com/fanbase. Startengine.com/fanbase. Also, Saturday, we're going to be in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, on Saturday, broadcasting live on Saturday night for the big Virginia Commonwealth Dinner. So we're going to have a special presentation of Roland Martin Unfiltered Saturday night, Richmond, Virginia. You do not want to miss it, folks. That's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here on... Oh, don't forget, our black-owned products, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com to get our products, shop the marketplace, and go ahead and go again, shopblackstarnetwork.com. That's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.